Tonight we are going in raw dog style. I'm going to choose a Reddit post that sounds interesting based on the title. We're going to read it together and explore my thoughts. The title of this Reddit post is, "I completely compromised all moral principles I stand for just so I could get laid." Welcome to the Pleasure Program. My name is Holly. I'm a licensed therapist specializing in sex therapy, here to answer your questions and share my knowledge around all things related to a healthy and pleasurable sex life. You will probably notice that my co-host, Victoria, is not with me tonight. Not to worry, she will be returning to the Pleasure Program. However, she is on a bit of a sabbatical for the summer months, and I look forward to having her back with me hopefully soon. It feels a little bit like I am missing my right arm or something, not having Victoria here. Okay, let's give it a read. I promise that's important. Went on a date with a girl last night, white, whom I had met on Bumble. The second I saw her, I knew we weren't a good match. But whatever, I thugged it out, and we had good conversation. Midway through the date, she offhandedly used the N-word. My brother is black. Despite that and how strongly I feel against it, I didn't end the date, or point it out, or change my behavior at all. And then I went back to her place and, yeah, I feel disgusting. I don't know why I would completely ignore my convictions about it. I do know why, because I'm a horny teenager. I feel like an effing coward. Oh, wow. I can understand why this guy is feeling so conflicted about his actions. My initial thoughts are we really still doing this? Are we still using the N-word in everyday conversation? It's sort of baffling to me, and it must be, I am fortunate, and in my circles and in my neck of the woods here, that would be absolutely horrifying to hear somebody use the N-word on a first date. That is just mind-boggling to me. And yet, for some reason, this man decided to go ahead and hook up with this woman anyway. I'm not seeing any ages here listed, although he refers to himself as a horny teenager. Let's hope that he's 18, or at least of an age of consent. But referring to himself as a teenager sounds like he's quite young. And it's kind of hard to know how to navigate some of these situations. You imagine yourself going on a first date. There's nerves involved. You met this person on a dating app. You're trying to put your best self forward. There's a lot of first-time jitters. You're trying to make conversation. Are we compatible? He says pretty early on he knew that they were not a good match. I'm really curious how he knew that. What was it that, aside from her using the N-word, would have been an indicator that they weren't a good match? Either way, clearly they aren't, because if she's using this kind of derogatory language this early in meeting somebody, then yeah, that's definitely a red flag. But being so young, I think it's important to think about how we learn from life, right? Sometimes some of the lessons that we learn are because we are faced with life situations where we go, I don't like the way I feel about this. I don't like the way I felt about that decision. Something about that just didn't sit right with me, or I was at odds with myself. There are two parts of myself that had conflicting values, right? One part of himself, as he refers to as the horny teenager. This is the part of him that, really values getting laid, really wants to hook up, really wants to have that fun sexual experience. And another part of him that knows there's some very obvious indicators here that this person is not compatible with you. This is not going anywhere. In fact, this woman's language is absolutely vulgar and offensive to him. Why would you take it any further? Why would you even continue on the date? Maybe find a reason to get out of there, or say, you know what, I think that we seem like really different people, so maybe we just go our separate ways tonight. Really nice to meet you. You know, when you're having to think on your feet like that, to give him, I guess, the benefit of the doubt here, this sounds like a really solid learning experience for him to maybe trust those feelings as he notices them earlier in the process. Because what happened here is he just sort of like pushed through the discomfort, ignored the signs that this was not going to be a rewarding experience for him, and go ahead and sleep with this woman anyway. And then feels really disgusted with himself, calling himself a coward, which I take that as he's just really wishing he had chosen differently, or he feels like he compromised his principles and his values for the sake of getting laid, and that doesn't feel right for him. So just let that feeling be a learning lesson for you. It's really not worth it to hook up with someone just to have a brief, encounter of a good time and engage with somebody in a sexual or vulnerable or intimate way that you just know is like, in your mind, not wholesome, doesn't have shared values and beliefs, and is not somebody you would probably even be friends with, let alone hook up with. So I think this is just one of those hard lessons for this individual, and hopefully he takes from this and moves forward. I don't think it's worth beating himself up indefinitely. And let's see what some of the top comments are on this one. Top comment here: happens to a lot of people, dude. You're not proud of it, which already says a lot. Just learn from it and set your boundaries next time. Don't beat yourself up forever over one mistake. Yeah, definitely kind of agree with this top comment. Makes sense. Like, learn from it. Trust the feelings sooner. My take would be try to identify those feelings of like, something doesn't feel right here. I don't like this. I don't want this to move any further, and just be okay with maybe doing the bold thing, which is leave. Say thanks for dinner, have a great life, and yeah, just be okay with sex isn't so important. Second most popular voted comment here: just don't make her your girlfriend. Yeah. Better men than you have done worse for less. Don't sweat it. Yeah, just get over it. And no, you won't ever let that happen again. Yeah, really interesting. Very similar thoughts as my own. Curious to hear what our viewers, thoughts are. Do you think there's anything more to say to this individual? How would you have handled a situation like this? Would a former version of yourself have just sort of like let it go and hooked up anyway? Do you feel like you know different now? Leave us a comment below. Let Victoria know you miss her. And I will see you in the next one.